Hey, people suck, but people are also awesome. But at the end of the day, we need people in our lives, but we need more of the good ones, less of the toxic ones. So today we're going to talk about the top 5 ways to remove toxic people from your life. So let's get into this. There's people in your life that don't belong in your life. Now, I love them. You love them. They're there, but we know at the end of the day, we need to spend less time as opposed to more time with these human beings. So let's kind of start by looking at this whole perspective. And the first step, number 1, is recognizing that you aren't perfect first. I think we have this perspective of that person is toxic. Well, it's all relative. You might be toxic yourself also, right? But the idea is to realize that you're not perfect. So the judgment of a human is not always the best way to start. What it should be in comparison to is, are they toxic based on the direction I want to take my life? Right now, it's one thing, but we're looking at a comparison to where it is that you want to go based on where you're at. You might, again, be not the greatest person. I haven't always been the greatest person, but when I said I want to go here, now I took a perspective and compared, is this the kind of person that's going to help me get to that place? Because if not, this person can't be around my life. Or I must love them from a distance and cut the tie by just not hanging out as much. And nowadays in our world, it's a little bit easier than it used to be, right? Just don't call them. Don't go places with them, because most of the time you can't. But the idea is realize you're not perfect, but it's all based in comparison to where it is you want to go. Now, the next thing you got to think is, why do you need to cut this person out? See, it's not just a thing to say they're not going to go there. They're not a good fit for that. Why aren't they a good fit for where it is you want to go? Because if you can't clarify why they're not a good fit, then what ends up happening is you don't get to this point of being able to actually determine what the thing is you need. And so you may cut somebody out, but they might have a piece of what you need. So again, why do you need to let this person go? Because they may have a thing that you need, but a different capacity, or they might fit in a different area of your life. Right? That's kind of one of the things we don't look at sometimes. We go, you know what? They're not going to help. But why? And if you can learn why, it'll actually be a good thing for you, because now you can have, if you watched last week, a hard conversation to figure out, hey, maybe you need to improve in this area. I need to have a conversation of how you can adjust, because you want to make sure you're just getting rid of the negative thing, but you do want to keep some of the positive, because this person might not be collectively all toxic. Maybe in one way of how they communicate or do certain things might not be the best, but you might benefit in some area from them. So think about why they're not a good fit. It'll inform you what the next steps are. Which leads us to step number 3, one of my favorite things. Hold a business meeting. What do you mean a business meeting? Well, you are the CEO of your life, which means you kind of are a business and how you operate. Bear with me for a second. I promise it makes sense. If your business has a business goal, to lose weight, to have a great relationship, to build a great business, have an amazing career, get a promotion, right? If that's the business's goals, well, you have employees that help you. Now, an employee could be your best friend. It could be your spouse, could be your kids, could be a colleague, could be a personal trainer, a coach. It could be anybody, but you need to hold business meetings with these individuals just like anybody would at any job. Quarterly meeting. Hey, let's sit down. Hey, I have you in my life, in this business for this purpose. And I notice you're not showing up in the way I need you to show up. Therefore, I'd love to have a conversation about if it's a fit, what you might need, because we're going here, and the way you're operating, I don't see it working at this next level. So I want to give you insight. I need you to communicate better. I need you to be less pessimistic and negative. I need you to support me a little bit more. I need you to work harder at making sure this relationship works, or just do what you promised you would do, right? If you have a personal trainer who's not doing a good job, you might have to get them off the team. You know what I mean? So the idea is taking a look at having a meeting to allow them the opportunity to become less toxic in the areas that they're toxic in comparison to the place that you want to go. So you got to sit down and have this actual meeting. And it takes us to step 4. You let them decide. See, if you've laid this all out, you've told them what has to be done, it's off your plate. If they show up and do that stuff, great. Because guess what? They're going to show up and do what they needed to do, and now we all win. But if they make a pointed choice not to, it's now not your fault if they get removed. See, one of the hardest things about removing toxic people is the thing that we feel bad for, letting them out of our life or just being a bad friend because we cut them off. If it's their choice because you were clear, you don't have to have any guilt or shame for doing this. But it takes you communicating this way earlier than when everything hits the fan, right? That is the most important piece. And then once you've made a choice and you've made a decision, step 5, the hardest one comes into play. You've got to move on. If I've said, you know what, this person isn't fit and I'm going to let him go, move on. If you decided to have a business meeting, because not everybody needs a business meeting and you know that, you sit down and tell them what needs to be done and they still don't do it, guess what? People are every day showing you who they are. So if you know that you must move on, you must move on. And here's why it's so incredibly important. When you keep these people around your life, while we're talking about removing toxic people, the purpose is to create space. See, we want people in our lives, but if I have a toxic person, they're holding a space for a positive person. And if I keep this person here, I don't have room for the new peg. You've got to move on from this person so you can find a better person that fits in this space for your life so you can get to the place that your business desires to go. Now, that is honestly the most important piece, is making sure you're going in a certain direction, because if you aren't, you're going to wake up and go, you know what? We're not where we should be. I wish I would have done this earlier. So start doing it now. Those are your top 5 ways to remove toxic people from your life.